So it's now March 1st, 1996. I'm up to $975 million. 3 years ago, I made 46 million. 2 years ago, I made 58.1 million. Last year, 39 million. I'm getting close to over a billion. I don't know if it'll happen this year or not. My airplane's finally running full capacity both ways consistently, and we're about to wrap it up. So, got 17 million to go. I had a train about 5 years ago make 13 million on one run. It was on one of my long routes. He had a full 270 cargo, 13 million by one train on one run. Such a far cry from when we started out, and I was happy to just profit 100,000 off one leg of a run. Holding steady here is waiting on trains to come into stations and stuff. You can see he just keeps these staying full. 7 million to go. 3 million to go. If a train beats the interest rate, we're there. Nope, they didn't. Now I'm back to 8 million. Some of these trains do that in just one leg. They're hauling so much cargo. Here comes 193 plastic. This will put me over the top, I bet. Maybe not, because it's a short run. Nope, that was too short. Remember, the longer the run, the better it is. Now I'm down. Oh, there we go. Right there, $1 billion. Let me pause it. Right on the money. September 26th, 1966. 34 years to spare. If I kept playing and optimized everything, I most likely could hit 2 billion by the year 2000. So, yes, it's difficult if you don't set it up right. And when you first start playing the game, it seems kind of unfathomably difficult, like you're never going to be able to do it. How the hell do people do that? Well, I just showed you. So let's review real quick the basic rules for successful train routes, and this is cargo routes, in hard mode. And then we'll wrap this series up, and I'll figure out what I want to do in the next time. Okay, so we learned several key things to being able to produce $1 billion by the year 2000 and getting that achievement in hard mode. And number one, first thing we learned, you have two routes that you're looking to do. Farm, that's close to a town, to food processing center between 9 and 20 minutes away for route time. And you load your train with boxcars and then take steers to the processing plant, food back, truck it into town. Now, the other thing we looked at was when you build that initial, where was it over here? When you build that initial truck depot, don't be afraid to destroy a building to make your route cover as many, in this case since it's food, of the commercial buildings as possible, and for fuel, industrial buildings as possible, and if at all possible, get them all with one freight terminal. When you're knocking down buildings, residential areas are cheaper to knock over for a road than commercial and industrial buildings. So if you have an option, do I like build it this way or build it this way? This is preferable because it won't cost as much to do. And especially if you're in penny pincher mode, I wouldn't even do that. I just go out to the end of one of these roads and build the best thing I could, because you don't have the money to waste knocking down buildings. But when you're willing to take out loans and your only goal is to get to $1 billion, or maybe some of the other achievements you can get in hard mode, knocking down a building and creating a bigger area of demand early on really helps you out, because it boosts your demand, which in turn lets your train generate more income. It can carry an extra car or two in full capacity. And the other starter route that we talked about, besides farm to food processing center, is oil well to refinery. And these were my starting routes many, many YouTubes ago. You take a train with tank cars, pick up the crude oil, run it down to the refinery, return with fuel, and then truck it into town. And like I said, it gets used by the industrial area. So those are the two specific routes you look for. They should be the only ones you're building, because these, if they're between 9 and 20 minutes long, they don't have a lot of terrain change on them, because that starter train can't handle any significant terrain change. It slows it down way too far. And it's between 9 and 20 minutes. And then you'd look for, your initial car is like 6, 7 cars long, whatever you can afford. Take out a couple loans, no big deal. And then the next thing is, well, those are going to make money. You're going to set yourself up to get to $1 billion. The next thing is, if you remember, when I started this first route out, I lost a bunch of money. Within the first year, maybe at the end of the first year, I was at one point $1.01 million in debt. So we talked about not taking out loans to cover any money you may be in debt. If you sink down to minus 300,000, don't worry about it. Don't take out a loan. You only take out a loan when you are ready to immediately convert it into something that will make money for you. Train, plane, boat, trucks, new railroad cars, more railroad cars. Don't take out a loan just so your little number down here is green instead of red, because if you're losing money, it's just going to go to the bank anyway, and you just increase the amount of interest you have to pay. So once again, only take out a loan if you're prepared to immediately turn around and buy something that helps you generate more income. And then I spoke later on about the 4 different things you want: full, fast, big, and long. You want a full train both directions. That's why these 2 starter routes are so good. You get to carry full cargo this way, you get to carry full cargo back. With the crude oil and fuel, you get to carry full cargo this way, you get to carry full cargo back. That's how you maximize the financial efficiency of your train. You run it full cargo, you run it fast. That's why you don't want a lot of terrain changes. That's why you don't put 15 cars on your starter train, because it can't handle that much weight. So between 6 and 7 cars seems about optimal. It can still get up to full speed. And with very little terrain changes, it can run fast. It can run at top speed for extended period of time. You want it big, meaning lots of cargo. Now, you're somewhat limited with your starter train's power and ability to pull to 6 or 7 cars, but as soon as you get the bigger engines, you want to try to ramp it up to 15 cars and carry a bunch of cargo, because the more cargo you carry, the more money you make. And finally, you want it long. And there I'm referring to the route length. Between 9 and 20 minutes seems to be the optimum for generating income, especially when you're first starting up and you have loans out and you're paying interest on loans. You go above 20 minutes and it starts working a little bit against you. You'll still make money, but you make money so slowly that you can't keep investing anything worthwhile and creating the base you need, the distribution and manufacturing base you need to eventually reach $1 billion. So once you get bigger trains, faster trains, then you may look at what I did here, where I took my starter route. I still left this up so you can see it. Here's my starter line, But my train was so fast, it was easy for me to extend the line down to this food processing center, taking the same amount of cargo to the same place. I made more money because I had a longer train. Full, fast, big and long. That's the way you roll if you want to make money and get to $1 billion. Now the next thing, among many, many different things we talked about, was don't let your money sit in the bank. Once you start turning a profit, in the initial stages, you're like, yay, I'm up $4 million. I can do something else. And you want to go out and upgrade your trains, build new lines, look all over the map, find other places where you can use those starter routes. Your goal is to get to $1 billion, so you want to take the easy routes that are guaranteed to make money, because you need money to make money. And the more easy money you have coming in, you saw there around, I don't know, 1900 or so, I had like $120 million in the bank. It would have been a huge mistake for me to sit there and think, well, I have 100 million out of $1 billion. I'm a tenth of the way there. I'm just going to let it sit there, and now I need to go out and make another 900 million. No, don't do that. Spend your money, invest it into more lines and trains and cargo cars that will make your money come in even faster. Don't let your money sit idle. It doesn't earn interest. It doesn't help you just sitting there in a bank vault. Spend it on things. I shouldn't say spend it. Invest it in more infrastructure. Widen your distribution system smartly, intelligently, and pretty soon you're in the situation where I was, where we were looking ahead and thinking, you know, I'm going to do this by 1970 because I have so much money coming in every year. All I have to do is maintain the integrity of all my systems, upgrade my trains, and even if I don't invest another dollar, I'm guaranteed to get there. And I end up doing it by 1966, even though I started playing around. I built this huge tunnel. I did things that probably weren't really economically smart just because I was having fun. And let's see, any other simple things. I built this bridge out here in the middle of nowhere, the bridge to nowhere. Where did it go? Should be right down here somewhere. There we go. My bridge to nowhere. Just to show you how to build a bridge. You start way back, and you hold down your shift key. Let me turn the, just as a refresher. You go into track mode, hold down your shift key. Oops, I'm turning the route. I want to build a train or a rail. Hold down your shift key, and then you use the directional arrow here to raise your slope, and you just push it out here until you're building a bridge. Now, when you're up high enough to go over whatever you're going over without causing a conflict where it turns red and says it's a problem, you use your shift key and make it level, extend it to halfway over whatever you're building, and then the next segment you push down, and now you're going downhill before you get all the way to the bottom, because it's hard to line the descending track perfectly up with terrain, and it can be frustrating to try to do it. Bring your line in from the other way and come this way and hook up to it, and the AI will figure out exactly where it needs to go to level mode on its own. You can save yourself the trouble of doing that. Later on, when your cities start growing, you're getting different commodities. Like I have down here, I had oil coming in on one route, food coming in on another. I started to connect them. Okay, I had my freight terminal for fuel connect to my freight terminal for food, and I was able to distribute all 4 products to 4 different cities through my local delivery network. And it allowed my cargo trains to run bigger and fuller. Remember, full, fast, big and long. So by connecting all these cities together, I was able to distribute more product from both trains, which allowed them both to be bigger and fuller, which allowed me to generate a bunch more income and build all these lines over here, which made even more income. And by the time I built these lines, it was like, okay, this is a slam dunk. I know I'm going to make it. And then I started adding bus service because as he saw buses, let's just look at one of these buses. I mean, this is nothing earth-shattering, but at the same time, provide a lot of money. So let's go out of here. Let's find a bus. There's a bus. I never even bothered to upgrade it my last couple upgrades. So line 32. Ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Probably could have ended up with 7 or 8 buses on it. I made steady, strong income the whole way. The last year, full year, 78,000. The year before that, 96,000 profit. 96,000 a year off one bus line. And I had like 7 bus lines. In 1 year, if I had 7, that's over $500,000. 7 times 6. Basically, this is 100,000, but we'll say it's 96. So 7 is 42 plus 63. So that's like 67,000. What am I thinking about? I'm looking at the whole line here. Don't worry about that. I made 96,000 off one line. Oh yeah, right. I had 7 lines. So if they all were making the same income, and they were all roughly similar, that's 42 and 63. 60. Well, no. $670,000 every year just off buses. They're easy, man. They're hardly... The only maintenance you have after you build them is to check in on them once in a while. And when they have enough new passengers at both ends, you add a new bus at each end of the line, and you have it set up to auto replace whenever a new bus comes out. You use the automatic replace, the manual replace, and force the replacement, and you just keep motoring on, and they keep making money. $670,000 a year. That's insane. Over a decade, that's $6,700,000 in a decade. You run that for several decades, and like I said, by the end of the game. Now remember, I was thinking 2000, and I'm 3 decades early. I told you by the end of the game, I would make at least 100 million in buses, and if I ran this out to 2000, I would. I'd probably be at like 150,000 in buses, because remember, I'm going to keep adding more buses, generating more income. So if your goal is $1 billion, don't overlook easy money from bus lines. Once you get, what I do is I wait till the first motorized coach comes out, and then I start my bus line after that. With the stagecoach, the 2 early stagecoaches, they go so freaking slow, they don't carry very many people. I don't generate that much money. It's not worth my time and effort. I'm busy trying to optimize the lines I have. But once those motorized coaches come out, find your biggest cities and go between there. Now, the other thing I also talked about, I think at Norfolk, I think I did this. Maybe I didn't. When you first start a game, especially if you're in penny pincher mode, you can go over here to your info screen, click on the city screen, and then just click on population twice. And it tells you what cities are the biggest. So when you're trying to pick out your starter route, look at these top 2 or 3 cities. They're going to be a lot smaller because you're just starting out. But look at the top 2 or 3 cities and see if you can find a starter route. Is there either oil or a farm real close to them? And if so, is there the corresponding production facility a decent distance away that's good for a starter train? Use those over anywhere else because of the fact that they have the most people. Therefore, they have a bigger demand. They let you make more profit early on. So you combine all those little tricks like that, and you end up making $1 billion 34 years early, way ahead of expectations. And that's pretty much it. I met my goal. I showed you that it's not impossible. Hopefully I gave you newer players some sound advice along the way. I know I mess up every now and then. I'm not the best player at this. I haven't really played it that long. And I know how much I struggled when I tried to start hard mode because I wanted to do it with trains. I didn't understand that you made more money with cargo than passengers, so I just kept beating my head against the wall and trying to find that ultimate passenger route that I could start hard mode with and make money on it, and it was just beating me to death. I kept going bankrupt to where I couldn't make money, couldn't make money. It's like, God, these trains suck on hard mode. Then I switched to cargo and started doing a little research and figured out what lines are really good to start on, and bam. First I got my 100 million achievement, and now I'm just blowing 1 billion out of the water. I think sometime I'll play it just to make 2 billion to show that I can. And it'd be kind of cool if somebody sponsored a competition where everybody played on the same seed, and you had to play no mods, and you had a competition to see who could make it to $1 billion the quickest. And whoever did maybe got a free game on Steam or something. But I don't run competitions like that because I don't really have the time. But that would be kind of fun, a fun challenge between a bunch of different people to see who could get to a set amount the fastest. Anyway, I hope you had a good time in this tutorial. I'll probably be making a couple more tutorials in Transport Fever. Definitely be making more in World of Tanks if you like World of Tanks. And as some other transport games come online that I have my eyes on, I'll probably make some in those too. But for now, I'm going to be mostly playing Transport Fever, so I'll probably put some more YouTubes up, and hopefully you'll watch them too. Have a good night.